The backyard woodshop.
Well, today's project is we're going to build a bathroom shelf with a towel bar. Something simple, a quick project. I'm not even going to make plans for it. I'm just going to design it on the fly. Only dimensions that I really need to know is the space I'm going to put it at. I've already kind of went in my bathroom and looked at that. I know I want the shelf to be, the overall length to be 20 inches long maximum, 6 inches wide maximum. So based on those, just those two dimensions there, I can kind of design. The height doesn't really matter, but I'm only going to have a single shelf. So I'll probably have like a shelf and then two brackets coming underneath. And then I'm going to have this bar right here underneath that. Now I want to go ahead and break down my pieces. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a cut and make this piece 21 here. And then I had those marked at 8, but I think I'm going to go ahead and make them 10 just so I got plenty of extra. So I'm going to make 2 at 10 for now. I can always trim them down. Since these are just being rough cut, I don't have to worry about being super accurate here. And then that will leave me just an off piece that it doesn't really matter. So now we've got our 3 pieces roughly cut. Now I'm just trimming everything down to 6 inches. Alright, so once I've got all my pieces cut to length, remember they're rough length right now. What I need to do is take it to the joiner here and get a flat face, and then I can take that flat face, go to the planer, and get 2 parallel faces, and then I'll have a 4S board basically, you know, faced on 4 sides. So I'm going to take off the 2 ends that are cupped till I get a flat, and then I can take off the crown at the planer. Once you've got one nice flat side on your joiner, then you're just going to want to make a parallel edge on the front here or the top, and that way you get uniform thickness for your board. So now we're just going to put all of our boards through the planer until we get a nice uniform thickness. I went ahead and planed everything down to 5/8 of an inch. I like that thickness. Seems like it'll be good for a shelf. And then I cut them on the table saw to 6 inches wide. The length is still a little long because of the dovetails. I left these too long for now, so I can cut my dovetails, and then I'll finish by cutting out the shape. You know, because we are designing this on the fly, basically. I went ahead and I'm going to cut out dovetails using my Incra system. I've chosen dovetail template N, and that seems to work out really well. So let's move on to cutting the dovetails and get this thing going. The next step is we're going to cut our dovetails on the Incra system. But first, you need to cut a relief rabbet, and according to the information in Dovetail Template N, I need a 7/32 inch relief rabbet. So I'm going to go ahead and stand this up and do that on here, but I'm not going to do it in one full pass. I'm going to do it in like 3 multiple passes, and just creep up on it. That's the beauty of the anchor system. I can just incrementally sneak up on the final cut, and I should get a much smoother result. And then we can move on to cutting actual dovetail pieces. Well, we've got our pin pieces cut. Now we just need, and there's the relief rabbets, and those are necessary so that this will fit inside the sockets for the tails. So we'll set those out of the way. And how the Incra works with the tail portion is we're going to cut, and you set up a stop, and that'll let you go however deep into the end of the board. And we'll go all the way across just one end for now, check our depth, move our depth stop to the desired depth once we figure out how much we need. And then I'll go and recut all these. And as you're cutting these again, you spin and cut these for the first time, but everything will be at the correct depth. So once you've got your board tapped in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and measure that distance, and it is about 1/16 of an inch. So now I can just take and move my stop, unloosen it here, and move it that 1/16. And now I know, because of the incremental system, that I'm going to get a flush fit. Well, I got all the dovetails cut, everything fit, but I made a mistake early on when in my Incra setup. I forgot to center everything up. I thought I did, but I think I had it set for another bit, and then I just assumed that I had centered it. So I was off by a little bit, which caused one side to fit good and then the other side to be offset. So instead of a 6-inch wide shelf now, I'm down to 4 and 7/8, which is fine because, you know, this is what happens when I don't use a plan. I kind of go off the cuff and you know, just missed the procedure there, and that's on me. But yeah, this now looks fairly even. What it is this side's a little this way, and this side and the other end's a little that way, just a little. But I was able to put it on the table saw and kind of even it up. I spared you the monotony of sitting there moving it until I got it where it looks somewhat even. But I don't think it'll really hurt anything. Sometimes when you make a mistake like this and you solve the problem, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. You can better believe I probably won't make that mistake of not centering my scale and everything again for a while. Well, there's the dovetails nice and tight, and the depth is correct, everything's good. So what I want to do now is I'm going to clamp them, dry clamp them, because I want to measure the distance in between and decide on how long I want my towel rod to be. And then after that, I'll probably cut the shape of this, and then I'm probably going to put a support board across here so that I got something to attach to the wall. Now I need to know the distance for my rod. Now, if you want, and you just want to screw your rod in without any joinery, you can just literally put the rod in here and make a mark on your board on the rod and cut that and then screw it in. Me, I'm gonna go ahead and recess the hole on each side about 1/4 of an inch. So I need to know how much the distance is here. So in here is 18 3/4. So if I want a 1/4-inch hole on each side, that'll make it 19 1/4 for the rod, and then a 1/4-inch hole on each side. And I think this is an 1 1/4 dowel rod, so I'll make an 1 1/4 recessed holes. So we'll have to do that here next. Also, I need to cut a small strip to put in here, and then we'll be golden. I've got my Craig table set up to make this decorative profile here with a little bit of a bead, and it's just to dress up. This is going to be the backboard where I'm going to bolt it to the wall and hold the shelf up. So I just use this piece to get me set up, and the feather boards are going to keep the piece all the way against there, all the way through the cut, and make it really safe. Now I don't have a bearing on this bit. I took it off so I could get the full profile. So let's go ahead and fire it up and make the cut. Well, I went ahead and passed it over this way, flipped it and passed it over again to give me this nice little profile here. I hope that's showing up well for the camera. Now I just got to do a little bit of sanding to it, and it'll look pretty nice. And it'll be a nice little decorative backboard. Alright, so just off camera I just took a Forstner bit and drilled a 1 1/4-inch hole 1/4 inch deep to accept my dowel. And there's a small piece that'll just inset in there, and that'll, when I put it all together, this will be held in like that. And I'll probably glue it in. And I've got the corresponding one on this side because this is inside to inside. And then I just drew a line here with some cans and a compass to get a nice pleasing little detail. And then I will cut those out at the same time by double-sided tape. And then I can just take my bandsaw and cut that shape out, and then sand both pieces at the same time at the sander. Well, I've got my micro Craig jig in my blue Craig jig here. This is the K3. So I'm going to make a couple micro holes just to help hold that. Now I'm ready. I can attach that to the back on each side, so I will have a couple fasteners on this thing. But nobody will see these because they'll be against the wall. Well, I went ahead and rounded everything over on the outside edges here just with a small round over, and I got the shelf that way as well. And I went ahead and sanded everything, got it all ready for assembly. One of the big things I like to do after I sand is I take denatured alcohol and I rub everything down. It doesn't swell the wood or distort it in any way. It just gets rid of all the sawdust. Just makes it ready for finish once you're done sanding. So the only other thing I did off camera besides round over and sand was I just put a couple of screw holes here for some bolts that I'm going to use to mount this to the wall. Got my dowel all sanded down, and this is going to be pretty nice, I think, when I'm finished. I've done a dry fit, made sure everything was correct. So now I'm ready to glue my dovetails together. So we're going to go ahead and add a little glue in these sockets. The great thing about dovetails is they pretty much fit themselves. You just need to make sure that you're square. And I'm perfectly square. So we're just going to repeat that process, add a little glue for the dowel, and then I'll come back when I've got it all glued up. I've got everything glued up, so now I'm just going to let it sit overnight in the clamps, and then do final little touch-ups where I need to, and then I'm ready to put the stain and the finish on. Well, I got my heaters going, letting the shop warm up. I just got down here. Probably going to take about a half hour to warm the shop up, but I just couldn't wait to get the clamps off and have a look at this shelf. Looks fantastic. I've got, I took denatured alcohol again and just wiped it all down. I had a small scratch right here, and I just took a card scraper and scraped that away, and then I went ahead and scraped the whole top surface, and I left a glass smooth top, so now it's ready for finish. I checked everything, and everything seems really good. It's all square, so that's good. So I'm really happy. Well, the next step I want to do is I want to stain this, and I'm a big fan of number 230 Early American from Minwax. Everything in my house is pretty much stained this shade. I just love it, and so of course that's what I'm going to use here as well. I like to apply it with a cloth towel, just a paper one. But here I'll just give you a little preview. I mean, look at how nice that comes out. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish staining this, and when I come back, it'll all be stained. Well, I think it turned out really nice. It's all finished. Looks really good. It's just a simple shelf with a towel bar. It's built on the fly here. I just kind of made my own designs. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to let the finish cure a full 24 hours, then I'm going to hang it on the wall, and hopefully my wife will like it. So, I really appreciate you watching this video. If you would, hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you a subscriber. And until the next time, I see you in the backyard.